Hey guys, welcome to my channel. So Ashley, today we're gonna get into the subject of fast fashion, specifically the infamous SHEIN. I know I'm guilty of buying some cheap bikinis, but I see a lot of influencers on all types of platforms showing SHEIN hauls, promoting fast fashion. They have really cheap prices. So it's hard to resist something like that, and being able to buy a lot of it as an influencer is pretty nice. But today I'm gonna attempt to copy a SHEIN bikini. I'm also going to track my hours to show how much work goes into these super fucking cheap clothes. And I'm also gonna show how much I'm spending on this. I know my skill level might not be as good as like people that work for them. I don't have a serger, so that'll be different. Like, it'll probably take me like twice as long to sew, but regardless, hopefully this will at least make someone think twice about basically the value of a garment and how much work goes into it. Anyway, let's get started. So I hopped on the laptop and went to the SHEIN website to find a bikini that I thought I could make. Here is the one that I chose for this video. I thought it looked really flattering, but not just your basic triangle bikini. The price for this one was $8.70. This one came with different color options, and for some reason the price was different for different colors. So I sketched out the bikini so that I can basically process and think about how I was going to sew it together and make the pattern. And I was originally going to make two, but I didn't really have the fabric to make both. So on to making the pattern. First I had to take my own measurements. And I don't know how many times I've done this in my life, but I still have to double check because things can fluctuate. So I just measured my bust, waist, and hips. And then I measured how much coverage I wanted on the top and how much coverage I wanted on the bottom. To draw the pattern, I just started with a basic triangle top that I already had. And then I went back and cleaned up the lines. Then I went into drawing the cutout detail. And I also added a dart and the seam allowance. For the bottoms, I used this high-waisted bottom that I like the cut of, and I traced one side so that I could cut it out on a fold. Then I went back and cleaned up the lines, changing the silhouette a little bit so that I could add a tie at the side. And of course, not forgetting seam allowance. To do the back piece, I traced that piece and then added a little bit of height to the center back, or length I should say. I don't know. Next, I just cut everything out of this fun stretchy fabric that I had. I believe that I got it from Spoonflower. Definitely not a cheap place to get fabric, but I got it a long time ago. And it kind of matches my skirt here. And I used my rotary cutter as much as I could, but for the tighter curves, I'm definitely more comfortable with scissors. And if there's a curve that's tight enough that it's hard to cut out, then you know it's gonna be difficult to sew. So at this point, I was starting to shake in my boots.
I'm scared right now, you shut up!
For the lining, I just used this white stretchy fabric. Onto the sewing, I decided to start with the bottoms because I didn't look forward to starting the top. So the first thing I did was sew the crotch together. I don't know why I just put so much emphasis on crotch. And I did the same thing with the lining pieces. And of course I ran out of bobbin thread before I even finished sewing 2 lines, because everything just has to be a little bit difficult. So here's the swim elastic that I ordered. This is the first time I've ever used clear elastic like this, and it is really quite slippery. But I guess it's supposed to last longer in water or something. I don't know. So I just use a zigzag stitch to attach the elastic, and let me tell you, that bitch was slippery.
Slippery, excuse me, please me.
It took a lot of adjusting, even on a semi-straight line. So I just tried not to think about the fact that I have to put elastic on the top cutout. It definitely turned out a little bit more lumpy and gathered than I was expecting, but I am assuming that that will stretch out once I put it on. So I just continued to attach the elastic on either side of the bottoms. The thread was kind of like pulling weird. There were like weird loose pieces.
Oh my god! What is that?
So So anyway, ignore that. And then attach the lining piece. And I just used a zigzag stitch for that as well to make sure that it could still stretch. After I sewed it, I just flipped it right side out. And I'm assuming you're not really supposed to iron this stuff, but I did it anyway. I just wanted it to look clean and not lumpy.
It may not look like it, but we're professionals.
But don't try this at home. To finish the bottoms, I did a zigzag stitch over the raw edge of the front and back. And then I folded the little corners in and straight stitched that down. Then I folded the top down about 3/4 of an inch. Then I zigzag stitch along that edge, leaving a little tube to put the string through. And before I bought the string that I'm actually going to use, I had fed a shoelace through it just to try it on. So instead of taking the shoelace out and feeding the string through, I decided to try a little hack. And it worked. It was so satisfying. And I just measured and cut so that the strings were even on the front and back. Now for the top, I decided to tackle the hardest part first, the curve cutout. And for this, I just sandwiched the lining piece and the outer fabric together, and then I sewed the elastic on top of the lining piece. But that's not exactly how I did it the first time, and I could see the elastic the first time, and you'll see that later. Anyway, it took a lot of shimmying, a lot of stopping and moving the foot and trying to stretch it in a specific way. And it was especially difficult to turn it the right way after sewing it. The elastic just didn't want to curve the right way, so I did put some snips in it. And we'll see how that holds up later. I realized I didn't film myself sewing the dart, but there it is. I also had to attach elastic to the outer side boob, if you will, area. And at this point, I realized that it's best to put the elastic piece on the outer fabric side. That way, when you flip it, the outer fabric wants to stay showing rather than seeing the lining. Rather than seeing the lining popping out a little bit. So here's the first one I did, where you can kind of see the clear elastic coming through, and here's the right way to do it. And here's me realizing that I put the string on wrong. I forgot I had to feed it through the inside. but that was a dumb mistake and an easy fix. I did the same thing to the top that I did to the bottoms to make a little tube to feed the string through. But it was a little bit more difficult because it was a little bit more of a curve. And I just fed the string through the old-fashioned way with a safety pin. Last thing I needed to do to the top was figure out how tight I wanted the center strings to be. Cleavage strings, whatever, I don't know. So I just pinned them on the mannequin and sewed them later. And I lied, that wasn't the last thing. The actual last thing that I had to do was I decided to add beads to the strings. So I just tied a little knot, put the beads on. If the string didn't want to go through, I just pushed it through with a pin. And then tied another knot at the end to make sure that they don't fall off. And then the last thing to do is trim the ends and then melt the ends so they don't fray. I know you thought I was just gonna make bikini, but I didn't think that was enough, so I decided to make this $3 cover-up skirt, or at least something similar to it. I do have some mesh fabric at home, but this one looked to be not so stretchy, but I think I'd rather have a stretchy cover-up just so it's more comfortable. So here's the simple pattern that I made. It's basically just a rectangle with a little tie nub, I guess. And I could have made this more of a curve than a rectangle, like the photo, but I just decided it would look fine as a rectangle. This is gonna get cut out on a fold. This mesh fabric that I have is super stretchy, and when you cut it, it doesn't really fray, it just kind of stays together. So I tried it on as is, basically to see if I wanted to cut the curve or not, but I thought it looked really cute like that. Granted, a little bit shorter than expected. I used a piece of scrap fabric and tested out how I wanted to finish the edge, so I tried doing a zigzag stitch over the raw edge, but I thought it looked too messy. So I decided to leave the raw edges and leave it and be done. So here's the breakdown in my head of why the prices on SHEIN don't make any sense. I tracked my hours and ended up spending 5 hours making this. Now with a faster machine and a lot more experience, I could probably cut that down to like 2 hours. For the materials, I had to kind of estimate because I had most of the fabric already in my house, but I estimated it would have costed about $30 for that amount of fabric. And then finally for the price breakdown from the website, both the bikini and the cover up together was about $12, not including taxes or shipping. And for material costs, buying in bulk always makes everything cheaper. So if it costs $1.25 for a bikini and a cover up, the estimated pay would be anywhere from $2 to $5 an hour, but that would be if only one person was doing all of the work and getting paid for that. That's not including supervisors or designers or anyone else involved in the process. So in my head, they're basically getting paid nothing. In fact, in this article, it says they make about $556 per month and work up to 18-hour days. And they're basically not allowed to make any mistakes. So I would not have gotten paid for the bikini that I made. Before I show you the finished product, I wanted to show you my favorite review from this skirt.
That's what she said. And you know what? What was that? Okay, James.
Anyway, here's how it turned out. In conclusion, SHEIN's not the most ethical store, but I think we all knew that. If you don't have a lot of money like me and you want to stay trendy, you should try shopping secondhand at thrift stores or on apps like Poshmark. And if you do have the skills to sew, don't be lazy. When you see something in the store that you want to buy, I know that you think, I can make that. So just try to make that. The fabric you use doesn't have to be expensive and new, and that's basically a speech that I wrote for myself to convince myself to make things that I want to make. Sometimes it's easier to order something and have it come in the mail like a present, but there's many ways to keep your closet sustainable, like trying to fix things that have holes in them instead of buying a new thing, or just thrift flipping from your own closet. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments if I've changed your mind or if you agree that buying clothing is an investment and you should think harder about it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe or we'll have more videos coming soon. Thanks for watching.